I'm going to begin a web series on this book, Prophet and Teacher, by William R. Herzog II. Now, I know you people are thinking, well, he's going to read it to us. No, he's not. Sorry, you have to buy the book and you have to read it for yourself. All I'm going to do is make sure you're able to read it. Big difference. Okay? You'll find out what I'm talking about in just a minute. Now, it starts out by talking about the historical Jesus. These are the facts that we actually do know about him. Okay? And that's what the whole theme of the first part of this book is all about. Now, they talk about the public activity of Jesus. Okay? And you're saying, okay, what is his public activity? Well, they're going to start discussing that in this book. Thing is, though, if you don't understand where Galilee is, you're going to have a problem reading this book. I not only want you to look it up on a map, but I also want you to look for pictures of Galilee. That way you get a visualization of what Jesus would have been dealing with when he did his public ministry. It's the only way you'll truly understand what's going on in this book. Okay? And then they talk about the word culmination. Like you know what culmination is. Unless you have an in-depth understanding of Italian and Latin. Yes, you say, wait a minute, you've been teaching those Italian lessons. There's been a reason for this. There will come a day where I will actually write a book on how to read and write Latin. And then, using that, you're going to have an expanded vocabulary, because 6 out of every 10 of your words come from Latin. And from that, you could then be able to decipher words like culmination. But since we haven't got that far yet, the word culmination is kind of a climatical point. It's sort of like when you're building a house and you finally get the house finished, you have culminated your work into that house. Get the picture? So, Jesus started his ministry in Galilee, but ended his ministry in actual Jerusalem. That's where all of his work culminated. Okay? Alrighty. Now then, another word you're going to run into is called a prefect. Now, here's the thing. When people read this, especially if they learn how to speed read, they're going to see the word perfect. Not perfect, prefect. Big difference. What's a prefect? Well, in Roman times, a prefect, the Latin term literally means one who stands in front. That's what the Latin term actually means. And it was something like, you know how they had Julius Caesar? Okay, Julius Caesar was the emperor of Rome. Okay? And he was not the emperor of Rome during Jesus' time, but he was the emperor of Rome at one time. So, if you want to look up who the emperor of Rome was at the time of Jesus, you're more than welcome to do so. But that particular emperor appointed Pontius Pilate. He did this. Pontius Pilate at that point became an official. He was an official for a fixed period of time, and he was an official for a very special task, usually a military type task. Okay? So, when it came to Pontius Pilate, he was kind of ruling over the Judean area at the time of Jesus, and he was appointed by an emperor of Rome to do this. Okay? Now you say, well, okay, how about Caiaphas? It says Caiaphas was a high priest. Okay, well, you have to go back to the Old Testament. Find out what a high priest was. And then you can imagine Caiaphas being a high priest. But Caiaphas was kind of a corrupt high priest. He was more subservient to Rome than he was to God, which was a personal insult to God. See what I mean? Now that brings some unique perspective into this discussion. Now, I'm sure by this point I have completely overwhelmed you with details. But I think you can finally make it through the first few sentences of that book and finally realize what the book's trying to tell you. I will make more videos on this, and I will tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.